Okay, so I'm just going to spend a little bit of time like cleaning up some of my code here. Um, a couple of things, first of all, before I do that. Realize because these are member functions, I have direct access to the numerator and denominator. So I can use them directly, or I can use the get functions if I want to. Um, so I'll leave this multiplication operator as written, okay? Um, and then I'll come down to the division operator, and instead I'll use get numerator. And remember, when you do that, you've got to put the parentheses out there, and it's a little confusing because it doesn't prompt you. Like, even if you use the IntelliSense, it doesn't tell you to use the parentheses, and then you'll end up getting a message later on. So I'm just going to do that. Okay, either way is correct. And if you use the get functions, if you like to use this pointer in front of them, you can do that too, just like we did up here. That's all kind of personal preference. Okay, so I wanted to explain that one concept, and now I'm going to go into my header file, and I'm going to talk about making the appropriate functions constant. And we've seen this before. Generally, our get functions, actually, let me do this in a different order. Let me come over to my two operator functions here. So we know that this is a value parameter, and we know that since this is an object, value parameters are generally not used. We want to use reference parameters to make them efficient, saving on space and time, and put const in front of them. Okay? And I'm going to do the same thing here because we either want to use reference if it changes it or constant reference if it doesn't change it. And we'll notice right here that I'm getting an error, and that's because this doesn't match in my header file anymore. So I'm going to come in here and do this. So this version, well, is really more correct, more efficient would be better terminology there. Okay. And my program still runs. It's going to run either way, but we want to really think about, oops. Okay, well, it doesn't really run either way because you can see I've got errors here, and I'm going to talk about that. So right now, right is a constant object. It's a constant reference parameter. And the message I'm getting here is that constant has type qualifiers, let me read that again, type qualifiers that are not compatible with the member function get denominator. The object type is const. So this is where it becomes important, and we saw this previously, that functions that do not change the data members are declared as constant functions. Okay. Fraction to decimal does not. Display does not. Let's see. These definitely change data members. They're constructors. Our set functions change the data members, but our get functions, our fraction to decimal, and our display do not. So they should be constant. I'm going to go into my fraction.cpp and put constant on those functions right here so that the prototype matches the heading. And now my error messages go away. So what happens, right? And I'm just back to where it was before. Okay. If we start to use constant reference parameters, and that really would be considered good programming practice, we have to then make sure that we are calling constant functions. So what constant means is, it means that the right-hand operand, you can't change the data members of it. So you can't change the numerator and you can't change the denominator. The only way you can ensure that these functions are not changing it is to put const on those particular functions, right? This ensures that it's not changing the data member because it won't let you, okay? So that would be considered, when you're looking at your classes, make sure, first of all, in your header files, everything that should be constant is constant. And then if you do that, when you start to write your operators, you can make these parameters constant reference parameters as they should be.